you've ever wanted to build something for yourself, but didn't think you had the tools, the experience, or even know where to start, this video is for you. Today, I'm going to be turning this cedar log into lumber myself, and then I'm going to build a bench I think just about anybody can build. And here's the important part. You don't need a sawmill to build this. You can use 2x4 and 2x6s from any store that sells lumber. No fancy woodworking tools, no complicated joints, and you definitely don't need years of experience to build this. If you've got a drill, some screws, and something that'll cut a board, you can build this. So let's see if I can turn this cedar log into something to sit on before this video is over. This right here is the reason I chose cedar for my build. And somewhere inside this log, we're going to find our bench. And again, this is why I chose cedar for this project. It's not a perfect wood, but all the imperfections of cedar is what makes it so unique. I'm only going to need a few 2x4s, so that's what I'm cutting out of this stuff here, the one that has all the bark on the end. All right, now I've got all my 2x4s and 2x6s I need. Now on this build, the 2x6s are going to be the back, seat, and legs, and the 2x4s are going to be everything else. And again, I'm making my own because, well, I have a sawmill. Now if you don't have a sawmill, don't let that discourage you. Go to the store, buy your 2x4s and 2x6s, and meet me back here for the next step in this build process. We got everything we need here to build our bench. Now, here comes the part I'm honestly more interested in. Can someone with basic tools build this bench without turning it into a 3-day woodworking project? We're going to find out. Now this is basically my woodworking shop for today. I got my circular saw, a drill, some cheap drill bits, a tape measure, some screws, and a pen. And I'm using a pen because I don't have a pencil. I'd recommend using a pencil because a pen will mark up the wood more than a pencil will, but that's what I got. And this is the most basic tools. You can use a miter saw if you have one, but we're going to use a circular saw here because this is supposed to be a simple project that anyone can do. Because we're not trying to build a piano here, we're just building a bench. Because the whole point of this project is so someone who's never built anything before can look at these plans and say, hey, I can do that. This is going to be the most basic build possible. I'm not even going to use sawhorses. If you got sawhorses, it'll make it a lot easier. I'm just going to use a stack of wood right here and make my cuts. So let's get started. Now we are going to want to use something for like a straight edge. It doesn't matter what you use, just something you know you can get a straight, nice edge with. So now I'm going to make my seat boards and back boards 60 inches. That's one thing I do know. So I'm going to go ahead and mark this edge here to take this yucky edge off. And here's my 60 inch. Or second mark, whatever you want to call it. And I'll try to cut right on this line. And there's our first board. Now I'm just going to take this first board and mark all my cuts and use the same board for every single mark, so everything will be the same. Now this one's got some weighing on it. I might use this one for a leg because we're not going to need it to be this high. So we'll just cut this piece right here off, then I'll cut my angles I need into the height I need. We're not letting any of this stuff go to waste. Measure. The one thing that makes this process a whole lot easier is getting all our pieces cut before we start assembling everything. And there's nothing complicated about it. Just measure it, mark it, cut it, and that's pretty much woodworking. And if you've never done this before, don't get obsessed with trying to make everything absolutely perfect. Just take your time, measure twice, get it close. Nobody's coming out here with a set of calipers to inspect your park bench, I promise you. All right, I got all my parts laid out here in the shade because I'm in Georgia, and right now it's about 300 degrees outside. Now what we're gonna do is assemble one side first. Now remember, we don't know our angles yet, and that's where our big leveling stick's gonna come in place. And you don't have to have one of those. You can honestly use a broomstick to do the same thing I'm gonna show you how to do with that. Now remember, these are the pieces for our legs. That one's got a little wane on it, but it's okay. I'm gonna go ahead and lay these out kind of how I want them, and that's gonna allow me to choose the angle I want, and I'll show you how I'm gonna do that real quick. Also for reference, here's that picture again of what we're going for. So all I'm gonna do is lay these out how I think I might want them, and the angle I might want them at. Probably something like that. Now to start, I went ahead and cut these boards to 36 inches, but these are the boards I'm gonna use for the sides. Okay, so now once I found the angle I kind of want to use, I'm going to use this straight edge here. Now, like I said, I don't know the angles yet. I'm making this as simple as humanly possible. So once I figure out kind of how I want these legs positioned, I've just got them angled. They're probably 10 degrees. I don't know. I'm going to go ahead and mark these. I'm going to go down here to the corners and mark my spots I'm going to cut off. There, I got my angles down there. Now, like I said before, I know I want this seat bottom to be about 18 inches up. Actually, I'm going to make it 17 inches. So we're going to make a mark right here. I'm also going to do it on the other side. I'm going to use the straight line I just drew, 17 inches right here. Now I want the top of my seat to be 17 inches. So I marked those 17-inch spots. Now, I did say I want my seat to slant back a little bit. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to mark 1/2 inch below the 17, so it's actually going to be 16 and a half. I'm just going to take my line here, straight edge, and I'm going to mark where I want that board to hit. Now it's going to be a little slanted on the back. The next thing I'm going to do is take this board here, which is going to be my seat frame. I'm going to move it into position here. Now I know where I want it. Now I got my seat marks here at 17 inches from this bottom line. That's going to be my straight cut line there. This right here, these boards are going to be 1.5 inches thick, so I'm going to have to bring that down 1.5 inches. So I'll go ahead and mark this 1.5 and 1.5. Now I'm going to go ahead and mark this 1.5 inches lower than where I want my seat to be, because these boards are 1.5 inches thick. Now this bottom line here is the line we're going to put our seat frame against, like so. Now all we have to do is figure out from this point how far we want our armrest to be. Now you can simply measure an existing chair you have already with an armrest, or you can sit down in a chair that's pretty comfortable and figure out kind of where you want it. So I know right about here is going to be comfortable for me. I'll be able to lean in on it. So I'm going to measure that height. Let's go 12. For this build, I'm going 12 inches. I think that'll be a nice, comfortable height. So 12 inches above our seat is where we want our armrest. And remember, our armrest is also 1.5 inches thick. Now we're going to have to mark a line 10.5 inches up from the seat to compensate for the thickness of our armrest board. So right now I'm at 11.5 inches. We're going to drop this down to 10 inches. And on this side here, we're at 12 inches. We're going to come down here at 10.5 inches and make a mark. And that's going to be our cut line. Again, we're going to take our straight edge here. We're going to line it up with these marks. And we're going to draw our lines here, our cut lines. And that's where we're going to be cutting these off at. Once I cut these off, the armrest is going to go on top of this. Let's go ahead and make those cuts. With the other side. Now, we've got to cut these bottom sections here. Our little angle. It's not perfect, but it's good enough. I probably should have made these longer. It would have made it a lot easier to cut those lines on the bottom. Now I'm just using these boards on my deck to line this thing up and kind of gauge my size. No science here. Now one thing to remember, I'm going to have a board mounted to the front of this, so I'm going to want to move this back 1.5 inches. All right, I'm going to go ahead and cut these edges here flat and true. Again, to get an idea of what we're doing, this doesn't have to be an exact science right here. Once I put this one side together, I'll be able to mirror that to the other side and have two sides exactly the same. I've got this gap here because we're going to have another board going this way for our seat frame. But for right now, I'm prototyping. I'm going to finish putting this thing together, then we're going to mirror it on the other side, and we're going to take all the measurements and write them down. And one of the main things I'm trying to demonstrate here is I don't have plans, I don't have anything to measure angle with, and the one reason I'm doing this is because I do want to show you anybody can do this. I'm going to use a Sharpie so you can see my marks on what I'm doing. I know right here I want a 1/2 inch overhang of my seat board, my top front seat board. So I'm going to measure 2 inches out from this edge because I know I got 1.5 inches here. I am going to mark this because this is going to be hid anyway. I got 1.5 inches from the edge here, so I know I'm going to want to go 2 full inches. Is it 6 inch mark? That's where my first board is going to end. Now I do want a 1/2 inch gap between my boards. You can do it whatever you want. You can butt them together, you can leave them close together or pull them apart, it don't matter. I'm going to mark 1/2 inch. I'm going to mark 6 more inches back here. I know that's going to be my second board, and then another 1/2 inch behind it. And from there, another 6 inches. And there we go. So that's going to be my 3 board places. Again, try to use a pencil, but I'm going to use this because you won't see this board anyway. So now I'm going to mark this. That's where my last board is going to end up. That wasn't cool. Looks like my next project is going to be building some more sawhorses. The one crushed over there. So now I'm going to have one board here, second board here, third board there. My board here doesn't need to hang out this far, and this one doesn't need to be as far back because my butt's not going to be sitting any further in this line right here. So what I'm going to do is slide this in. I'm going to gauge this bottom and make sure everything's flat and straight and true. Nothing has to be exact here. You can make your own measurements, your own design, however you want to do this. Just remember, once you build this one, now you have a template for your second side. Now I know my backrest is going to have an angle to it, and I'll show you an easy way to get that angle. Now the backrest support is going to mainly be supported by this leg right here. Then the armrest is going to be on the outside of it. But all I'm going to do is measure a distance right here, which is about 1 inch, and I'm going to mark that on this side. Then I can take my straight edge, go from that corner to my mark, and mark my cut line. And then I know this piece here is going to fit flush against this one here. It's actually going to slide back a little bit because these boards are going to be 1.5 inches as well, and they're going to start somewhere up here and go back. I'm not going to cut this one to length yet because I'm going to measure where I want my boards to land, and then I'll cut it off. I'm going to go ahead and cut this edge right here, and I'm going to cut this board off on the back side because I don't need all this hanging off. So I'm going to mark that here and here, and now I got my cut line. And now everything just fits together like a puzzle. The next thing I'm going to do here is pre-drill these holes and go ahead and get this started in here. Now one very important thing to note right here, make sure you use a drill bit that's smaller than your screw. Not too much smaller, but just enough where those threads will still hold and not bust your wood. Now you're not going to have many problems with other woods besides cedar. Cedar is known to be very brittle and it will bust on you when you put a screw in it if you don't pre-drill it first. That is how I want it. Make sure it's sitting flat on the level. We're going to make our drill holes. Now I'm not measuring where I'm putting these drill holes. I'm just guessing and putting them where I think they'll work the best. Now I'm going to be using my 2.5 inch screws since this is total thickness of 3 inches. And I'm not going to push them all the way in. I'm going to try to get them just where that head is right there at the top. It's important to make sure everything is lined up before you run that second screw in. Now I'm just getting these flush right here with the top. Not trying to bury them into the wood. And there you have it. There's one side assembled. Now I still need to cut the length on this piece right here, but I'm going to make my measurements where my boards are going to fit on this, and I'm going to go ahead and cut it off where I want it. See how simple this is? Nothing complicated at all. So there's our basic layout right here, standing up. I went ahead and made my marks on this backrest board right here. And I went a step further. I measured halfway between this 4-inch board right here, and I put a mark right in the center and did a 45-degree angle right here. I'm going to cut that off just to make it a little aesthetically pleasing, you know. But you can do it however you want to do it. We're going to measure and mark all the boards for the other side. We're going to make the exact same cuts so we can mirror this design right here. Then we'll start assembling this thing and put it together. And again, don't worry about making any mistakes. In woodworking, it happens. I'm sure you can ask some of the best woodworkers in the world if they ever make mistakes, and I guarantee you they'd say yes. Now we got a cool little angle here. Like I say, you don't have to do that. I'm just doing it on mine. Now we have a completed whole side. This is the outside view. Now I probably should have used a board that didn't have this wane on it, but I think it gives it character, so I'm going to keep it on mine. All right, I'm gonna mark the boards on my other side and we're gonna get that built. I'm not ever gonna take this one apart. I'm just gonna lay these boards on top of it here and make my marks that way. And for these marks, I'm gonna use my Sharpie just so you can easily see these lines. Wow, look at that. It's really starting to come together now. Now comes the easy part. Laying our seat boards and our back boards and my back brace back there. If you can build these sides, that's the hardest part of the job. Wow. Now this thing is starting to look like a bench. Like I said before, these sides right here are the hardest part about this entire build, and they're not hard. And it's already pretty solid. Once we get our back boards and our seat boards down, this thing is gonna be super solid. We may be getting a storm pretty soon, but I'm gonna finish this bench for you. Just 2 more boards and some armrests and we'll be done. It really is just that easy. But let's get those armrests on. We need to pull out one more section of 2x6 and cut our armrest out of it. So here's what I did. I just made a couple of 45s on the corner up here. I just measured 2 inches across, made a 45. That's for the fronts. And then for the backs, I went right to the center at the 3-inch mark and made a 45. I'll just round the edges out a little bit, give it a little bit of soft corner. And you can sand all these ends smooth as you want to, or keep them like it is, or just keep them square. These are just gonna go right here. Wow, look at that armrest. So I got 4 screws in here. I've got 2 in each leg, but I think the most important screw here on this is the one that's gonna go on the back side here. This backrest arm right here, it's got a lot of support bolted into the leg right here, but we really wanna stiffen it up. When we bolt it into the side of that armrest, it's gonna really hold everything together well. So that's probably one of the most important screws we put in here. But that one screw is gonna tie this all together and make this thing super strong. And there it is, super solid. And that's one side completely finished. What I'm gonna do is go ahead and cut this edge off right here, just for aesthetics. And I don't want that corner right there to poke you in the back if you sit down. Then I'll be able to sand it and have a nice rounded transition right here. It'll be nice and soft. 2 inches, I'll mark this one at 2 inches. And we'll come back and do our 45. All right, and there it is. All right, just one more thing and we'll be complete here. I'm gonna put a runner right between these seat boards here, just so it distributes the load good and they don't bow on me. And I'm gonna do the same thing in the back because the center board's already starting to bow out a little bit just from the sun hitting on it, because this is fresh cut cedar. So I'm gonna mark center on these boards right here, take a measurement here and cut me a board for that. Center. Now just to get rid of these hard corners, I'm gonna cut these into a 45. And that's that. There's our support. Now that board there is going to evenly distribute the weight across these boards here and ensure these don't break on you or pinch you in the butt or something. Same thing with the one on the back. I noticed that center board was starting to bow out a little bit. Now it's going to be perfectly locked in place. All right, so there's one test every piece of furniture has to pass, and this is probably it. Hey, we built a bench. Pretty awesome. And here's what I really like about this. There is nothing we did today that anybody watching this video couldn't do themselves. No fancy wood shop, no fancy joinery, just a few boards of lumber, a handful of screws, and a few basic tools. There it is. Just think, just a few hours ago, this was a cedar log. Then it was lumber. Now it's a bench. Maybe with just a little bit of sanding, this will be something you'll be proud of to have sitting on your front porch. I'm pretty proud of that. And that's what I really wanted to show you in this project here. You don't need thousands of dollars in tools. You don't need a giant shop. And you don't need 20 years of woodworking experience. All you need is a place to start. Now, if you've never built anything before, build this. Just take your time, follow the instructions, and don't worry about if it's perfect or not. Because when you're finished, you're going to have something sitting in your yard that you made. And that's pretty darn cool right there. That's a good feeling. Now, I think I'm going to do more projects like this. Simple projects with basic lumber and basic tools that anybody can build. Now, I'm going to continue to cut my own lumber on my sawmill, but you can just go to the hardware store and grab some lumber and build right along with me. And for all my YouTube members out there, shoot me an email. I'll send you back the PDF plans so you got everything in front of you. And there's one thing I'd really like to see. If you guys build this, send me a picture of it. If enough of you guys build these projects, send them to me, send me pictures. I'll start posting these on my videos because I myself would love to see what you build, and I'm sure everybody else would too. It doesn't have to be perfect. I just want to see you build something. One cedar log, a handful of screws, a drill, a saw. I'd say we did all right. We'll see you guys on the next one. What do you think, Dookie? Is Dookie approved?